Guys, welcome to another video. So something slightly different for you now. This is the Marushin Automag. It's a strange looking thing, however was made very popular by a particular film series. Actually, it was only in one film, which was the Dirty Harry films, which is sort of like a 70s film series, which I'm sure a lot of you guys haven't even heard of before. But if you haven't seen them, watch them. Great set of films. This was sort of featured in the very last film, where Dirty Harry, the main character, upgraded to this Automag. His version was slightly shorter, was silver and had wood grips. Marushin did actually do a silver version of this, with sort of some faux wood grips, but this one, like I say, is the black version. The silver ones are sort of the premium ones that everyone wants. I just wanted to get one, so I wasn't too bothered about it being black. Like most Marushin pistols, this is all polymer. And it's slightly different in that this one as well is 8mm. Now, some people have not heard of 8mm before. However, 8mm is a thing. It was something that we encountered quite a lot in other early models. So just as a comparison, there's some 6mm BBs there, so you can see the difference. So quite different in size. There we go. So this is quite an early days pistol, and again, being that it runs in 8mm is something that's, you know, not seen very often. There are a few older rifles and stuff that were in 8mm. For example, one that lots of people know is the Intervention, Shytech Intervention. CO2 shell ejecting, I think, was 8mm, as I think the SOCOM gear Barrett, I think, was 8mm as well. Again, that was a CO2 shell ejecting. So there are, you know, models out there, and apparently the VCRA Act that we had in the UK almost meant that this would have been, you know, classed as a firearm, being that it was 8mm, because they were actually only going to allow 6mm until, you know, some very clued up guys stepped in and made sure that didn't happen. But either way, let's talk about this one today then. So the Automag's an unusual looking thing. It's almost like revolver front end with auto rear end. It's a single stack style magazine, and again takes those 8mm BBs on a single stack basis down the front of the magazine there. It's quite a wide mag, but it's your standard style gas mag affair. It also has some holes on the side here so you can see how many you've got available. Not sure how many it holds, probably not a lot, maybe 10, 12, something like that, because obviously the BBs are a lot larger. Now, the actual pistol itself, like I said, this is an all polymer build. There does have some metal parts. We've got a metal trigger, mag release, takedown lever. We have a steel slide catch, metal safety lever, metal bolt carrier, which is the bolt at the back here. We've got a metal rear sight, metal trigger, hammer, and other than that, some various screws and stuff which are metal. Other than that, it is all polymer. Obviously, some of the internals are metal, but the majority of it is some kind of alloy. There are a couple of steel parts, but nothing of major consideration. So the original real steel pistol was pretty much a world first. It was before we saw the Desert Eagle, and it was one of the, I think it was the most powerful automatic handgun in the world, because it was a 44 AMP. The original pistol was the Automag made by AMT. an AMP 44 caliber were, I believe, 7.62 by 54, I think they were. Or there might be 51s, I can't remember, that were cut down with the 44 caliber head pressed in the end of them. So yeah, it's an unusual looking thing because it has this big open port on the side, a bit like a rifle in that has a bolt carrier rather than a slide, but kind of similar to what we see with the AAP these days. So yeah, a little unusual. Now, we'll take it apart so you can see the insides, because there are some unusual bits internally, but we'll just go through the controls quickly on the outside. So again, you've got your magazine catch here, which is metal. We have our trigger, which is just a single action trigger, so no double action pull. There was a version of this which was made as non-blowback, this obviously being the blowback model. The non-blowback was a double action pull. We've got a takedown lever at the front here, our slide catch, and then obviously a safety. And this obviously here is what you use to cock the action here, which cocks the hammer. Now, if you want to take the pistol down, we have to have it cocked. We need to rotate the takedown lever forwards. And then strangely, we have to lift the rear sight, which enables you to push the upper off of the lower. And you can see, looking at the upper here, it is plastic. It's nothing, it's not ABS, it is plastic. We have our, obviously, inner barrel in here and our hop unit. And it does have adjustable hop. I actually didn't realise this until I took it apart, because if I'm honest with you, I think I've shot it like once. I don't shoot it very often because, unfortunately, these are a little on the fragile side. They're well out of production now. So if anything goes wrong with it, you've pretty much got to find yourself another one. They're not cheap. So, yeah, it's something I don't use very often. Now, if we look at the lower, it has this sort of rear section here, which has got like a chassis. And the actual bit that blows back is this part here. And it will actually function without the hop unit fitted to it. No problem. So, yeah, it's unusual in that case that it will do that. Now, the actual unit itself is in two pieces, screwed together, and then you have the bolt carrier in the middle, and then obviously our nozzle. Now, you've got your recoil guide rod on one side, and on the other side there's a slightly shorter one, which indexes with your slide catch. So as we pull this back, you can push the slide catch up, and it actually comes in contact with and blocks this bar here, which then locks it open. Obviously, the bolt itself cocks the hammer, as you can see there. There's a big screw on the back here, which just holds this part to the main piece here. You've also got your nozzle return spring here, which mine, when I first got it, the screw flew out and I couldn't find it, so I've had to replace it with a different screw. So let's just drop that forwards again. So pull it back and then allow it to go forwards. And you can see the bolt actually travels within this groove. And obviously, this doesn't have the same groove on the other side. This is open this side. So literally the only thing that's guiding the bolt is this slot here and this little lug. So as you can probably imagine, one of the first failure points you get is this chassis around the outside here. They crack on here. They also crack at the back here. Obviously, this is what stops the bolt from over traveling. So again, this can sort of get damaged. This can crack. The actual upper chassis can crack as well. So, it is very well made, but it's not the strongest. But in saying that, some people use them to great extent and swear by them. So fair play to them. Now, one of the interesting things about this, again, being that it's 8mm, it's slightly larger opening in the hop unit. Obviously, it's a proprietary rubber. That could be an 8mm. I believe there are some available. But another thing that's interesting, which we saw a lot on early gas blowbacks, thinking back to KSCs and stuff like that, is that the nozzle itself actually is in multiple pieces. You can see actually the end piece here is spring-loaded. So essentially the idea of this is you have your little sort of feed nub here, which obviously picks up the BB, puts it into the chamber, and then this will obviously push back and seal against it. Now, the reason why they didn't have this, just flush here was to obviously help it feed up into position. If it was a much larger opening, then obviously, there's the chance it's going to ping out and not be in correct position. So quite unusual that it has this sort of retractable piece, which is something we saw a lot on much older black gas blowbacks. Modern ones don't tend to have it so much. The Tucumari MWS, has like a part which shuttles back, but it is just for looks. It's not actually doing anything. But they've done away with this in modern gas blowbacks because it's just an extra failure point that isn't really needed. That's pretty much it for the lower. Now, I could take it further apart, but I'll be honest with you, I've taken it apart once and I didn't enjoy putting it back together. So I'm going to respectfully decline taking it apart. If something fails at some point, then I'll probably have it apart so you guys can see it internally. But in reality, I don't really want to go down that route. I want to just leave it as is for now. So that's your upper and lower disassembled with your magazine. Now, if we want to reassemble, obviously just slide this back on. You want to lift the rear sight slightly here as you get it all the way back to here. Lift, which allows you to put that on. And then you have to lift this back in place to lock the upper in position. You can cock this again. Now, function-wise, if we put the magazine in, obviously hammer is currently cocked. If I pull the trigger here, you can see with the hammer forwards, you can pull the trigger as much as you like, nothing will happen. Cocking the hammer will just drop on dead, so we need to make sure we cock the action to be able to pull the trigger and cycle the pistol. Notice we do have a functional bolt lock there, so pulling the bolt back, it will stop open. So slide catch there will drop the bolt forwards, and then we can fire the pistol. It is quite snappy, very loud as well. On here you also do have one other function here, which is obviously your safety catch. Popping that up puts the pistol on safe. It also does on the gas blowback have a dual function, as if we push it down, you may notice if you watch the slide catch, it pushes the slide catch down slightly and retains it. So then you can dry fire to your heart's content without having to press this down. So it has that nice little function there. And that, basically, guys, is the Automag. Now, this version does have a little opening in the front of the trigger guard, which you would think enables you to adjust the trigger. That's actually just a faux thing. It's just something that was sort of moulded in. As with a lot of this, these screw heads in the end here were to mimic the factory recoil guides. Again, these are just moulded in. They're not functional at all. So yeah, a lot of this is just built to obviously mimic the original, not to function exactly like it. But to be fair, as a gas blowback, no one has ever made one since. Marushin went down the route of making this one, and I'm so glad they did, because, short of doing an AAP conversion nowadays, you wouldn't have got anything near this. So it's really impressive they did. You do see them pop up for sale from time to time, but they are quite expensive and they're quite rare. Again, lots of people tend to have two, mainly because when parts fail, you need to be able to replace them and you can't get parts for them. This one I've had for a couple of years, and it's not the jewel in my collection, but it's one of those ones that I always wanted and wanted to have. In reality, I get it out very infrequently because, it's a bit fragile and I don't want to break it, basically. So, but yeah. So there's the Automag made by Marushin. Any questions you have in the comments, guys, fire away. In regards to shooting this, I have shot it a little bit. Again, the hop rubber is not a lot of hack now. It's quite old, but it's it works okay. You can obviously wind the hop in and it's fine. It will hop some heavier BBs. I believe the standard for 8mm is 4.5s, so they are a lot heavier because obviously it's just a lot bigger BB. When firing this through the chrono, I was getting sort of 260 FPS. Obviously that's using duster gas, which is obviously what these primarily run on. You probably could run it on green gas, but its lifespan is going to be probably reduced considerably running it on green gas, because it's obviously a much higher pressure gas than duster gas, which is obviously what it was designed for. So yeah, FPS is, it's okay, it's usable. Clearly aimed at the Japanese market, because that's around the FPS limit that they're available and needed there that they can use. So again, if you have any other comments, anything you want to ask, feel free to like, share and subscribe. Leave me a comment in the comments at the bottom of the page, and I'll see you guys in the next one.